Midweek Worship at Cities Church. Hey, my name is Jeff and we are Cities Church. We started this broadcast for families. If this is your first time with our broadcast, why don't you check below me in the post and you can see the link to a YouTube video. This video will tell you who we are and why we created this broadcast. Mom and Dad, this is time for you now to gather your children around and to have a conversation with them, a spiritual conversation with them. So why don't you go ahead and gather them around the TV or around the tablet right now, and let's talk about demons from 2 Peter chapter 2. Today rounds out the last month's worth of discussion about the spiritual realm. You have had the chance to communicate with your children how our God works in creation, how He created everything that we can see around us, but also He created the things that we cannot see. He created the unseen realm. We learned how God is Lord, or we say it around here, Jesus is King over the spiritual realm, which means He's king over angels. And most of us would nod our heads and say, yes, we agree with that. But last week we learned that He is king over Satan. And that's where it starts to get a little bit hard for people to understand. And this week, to wrap up the spiritual world, we learn how Jesus is king over even Satan's demons, the demons in hell. So we're going to talk about that in just a second. But in order to prepare our hearts for a conversation about Jesus being Lord over all, creator over even the demons themselves, I want you to sing along with our friends Pete and Alicia as they lead us in some music. And these songs are a way as a family for you to prepare your hearts for what we're going to hear from the Bible and what we're going to put into practice today. So we're going to ask our friends Pete and Alicia from South Africa if they'll lead us in some music today. Pete and Alicia, take it away, will you?
I love how Jeff always says that we call Him King Jesus around here, because He is the center and the most important part of our lives, right in the middle. That's where He is, our beautiful King Jesus.
A moment when the lights went out, when death had claimed its victory. The King of love had given up His life. The darkest day in history. They made for sinners. For every curse His blood atoned. One final breath and it was finished, but not the end we could have known. For the earth began to shake singing, holy, singing, holy. You are holy, holy, singing, holy. We're singing holy, holy, holy. All hail King Jesus. All hail the Lord of heaven and earth. All hail King Jesus. All hail the Savior of the
Hey, thank you guys for leading us in some songs so that we can sing our praises to the King of the universe, to King Jesus. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to study about demons. Now, we believe in angels. We learned about them 2 weeks ago. We learned last week about the prince of all of the angels, kind of the number one angel of heaven who caused a rebellion and was kicked out of heaven. His name is Satan. This angel shows up more often in the Bible than all of the other angels combined. And today we learn about Satan's followers. There was a war in heaven, and I don't want you to think like it was a civil war and these were equal sides, because that's definitely not how this went. But there was a moment in heaven where God created the angels, and those angels existed to serve him and to praise him or to worship him. And for whatever reason, we don't know why, because the Bible doesn't tell us. And whenever this happens, we don't know exactly when this happens, because the Bible doesn't tell us this. Satan decided to try to take over heaven, to lead a rebellion and try to take over God's throne. When that happened, the God who created Satan and created all of the angels passed judgment on Satan and cast him out of heaven. But not only did he pass judgment on Satan, he passed judgment on all of those other angels that joined Satan and tried to rebel against God, who tried to take over heaven. These fallen angels or rebellious angels are what the Bible refers to as demons. And I need you to believe in demons, that they are every bit as real as God's angels are real, because demons are God's angels. They just happen to be the evil angels who rebelled against God. The Bible talks a lot about demons. And I'm going to place a verse in the Bible in front of you, and I want you to memorize this Bible verse about demons. This Bible verse comes from the book of 2 Peter. It's 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. For if God did not spare the angels who sinned, but cast them into hell and delivered them in chains of utter darkness, to be kept for judgment. 2 Peter 2, verse 4. Did you hear how the Bible refers to demons in this one verse? It refers to them as angels, angels who sinned, angels who were cast out of God's presence, and angels who were sentenced to the punishment of hell. The easy phrase that the Bible uses to refer to all of that is the word demons. Now I want you to lean in and listen closely to what I'm going to say next, parents, and I need your children to hear this. Hell itself, mentioned in 2 Peter 2, verse 4. The second death, the lake of fire, God didn't create that for people. God created hell itself as a punishment for those angels who rebelled against him in his very presence in heaven. And 2 Peter uses that as an analogy and says, if God has the power to cast angels into hell, then he will certainly sentence people to hell who rebel against him and refuse to believe that Jesus is the only way to heaven. You see, I chose this one Bible verse, and I realize it's a long verse, and I'm asking you to memorize it as a family. But I chose this Bible verse for you because it reminds us that demons are real. It reminds us that God is in control of the demons. And it also, in one Bible verse, reminds us the ultimate what's ultimately waiting for the demons one of these days. God will finally and totally punish them for the rebellion that they led in heaven, but more than just that, he will punish them for the evil that they're working right now on earth. Maybe the evil that they're working in your family or in your community or in your workplace. That punishment is the punishment of hell. It's reserved for the evil angels, and I don't want to see any human being end up there. I hope you don't want to either. So I'm going to ask you a question now. And this question is something that I want you to talk about as a family when this broadcast ends. Mom and Dad, will you just have an honest conversation with your children about this question on the screens? Here it is. What is the difference between angels and demons in our world? I want you to notice the last part of this question, because we've just described the difference between angels and demons in heaven when there was a rebellion. We described the difference between angels and demons when God sentenced them to hell as their final punishment. But right now in our world today, would you describe for your children, Mom and Dad, the difference between angels and demons? Both of them were created, both of them created by God, both of them created by God for the same purposes. And when the evil angels fell, we call them demons. Now there is a big difference between angels and demons in our world in this present day. And I want you to have a conversation with your children about that. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for learning about the God who works in creation, the creation that we can see with our eyes, and the creation that we can't see, his spiritual realm. Hope you have a great week. See you right back here next week. God bless.